In a tense and deeply emotional turn of events, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered what he calls immediate and powerful strikes in Gaza after accusing Hamas of violating the fragile ceasefire agreement that was meant to bring a brief moment of calm to a region long scarred by conflict. Pause. The skies over Gaza once again fill with the thunder of explosions and the haunting glow of fire as the echoes of war return to a place that has known little peace. Pause. Israel's Air Force launched a series of overnight strikes, targeting what it described as Hamas military positions, rocket launch sites, and command centers. Residents of Gaza City reported hearing multiple explosions that shattered the quiet of the night, sending families running for shelter. Pause. Netanyahu, speaking from his security cabinet in Jerusalem, declared that Hamas had crossed a red line, accusing the group of launching rockets into Israeli territory. Despite the ongoing truce, he said Israel would respond with full force to protect its citizens and ensure that such violations are met with a strong and decisive answer. His message was clear. Israel will not tolerate attacks during a ceasefire deal that was meant to offer hope. Pause. On the other side, Hamas leaders have denied responsibility for the recent rocket fire, accusing Israel of using false claims as an excuse to resume military operations. They stated that Israeli forces had already violated the ceasefire by conducting raids and blockades that prevented humanitarian aid from entering Gaza. The situation has quickly escalated into a familiar cycle of accusation and retaliation, with both sides blaming each other for breaking the fragile truce. Pause. As the strikes intensify, the human cost continues to rise. Gaza's health authorities report casualties among civilians, including women and children, as densely populated neighborhoods are once again caught in the crossfire. Hospitals, already strained by months of shortages, struggle to handle the influx of the injured. Ambulances race through narrow streets, carrying the wounded to overstretched emergency rooms. The sound of crying children and sirens fills the air, a painful reminder that every military action has a human face. Pause. Meanwhile, in Israel, sirens wail across southern towns as residents rush to bomb shelters. The fear of incoming rockets looms large once again. For many Israelis, the renewed violence shatters the brief feeling of security the ceasefire had offered. Families brace themselves for another uncertain night. Pause. Global reaction to the renewed violence has been swift. The United Nations has called for an immediate halt to hostilities, warning that the escalation could push the region deeper into crisis. The United States has urged restraint on both sides, emphasizing that peace cannot be achieved through force. European leaders have expressed concern over the humanitarian situation in Gaza, calling for the protection of civilians and a return to dialogue. Pause. International humanitarian organizations are also raising alarms. The Red Cross and UNICEF have appealed for safe access to deliver aid, food, and medical supplies to Gaza. With power cuts and fuel shortages worsening, thousands of families are now left in darkness. Water supplies are dwindling, and the risk of disease is growing. Pause. Despite diplomatic efforts, the situation on the ground remains volatile. Israeli defense officials say their operations will continue until they achieve what they describe as complete deterrence. Military vehicles line the borders, and soldiers prepare for possible ground maneuvers. Reports suggest that Israel is focusing on targeting tunnel networks used by Hamas for smuggling weapons and launching attacks. Posing Gaza, fear and resilience mix in equal measure. Many residents say they have nowhere to go. Trapped between the Mediterranean Sea and sealed borders, their options are few. Parents try to comfort their children, while the sounds of distant explosions echo through the night. In refugee camps, families gather around small radios and mobile phones, listening to updates and hoping for a ceasefire that will last longer than a few days. Pause. As the violence unfolds, political pressure on Netanyahu grows at home. Some opposition leaders accuse him of using military escalation to strengthen his political standing, while his supporters argue that Israel has every right to defend itself. The Prime Minister insists that Israel's response is justified, saying no country would allow its citizens to live under constant threat. Pause. Hamas, meanwhile, frames its actions as resistance against occupation and blockade, portraying itself as defending the Palestinian cause. The rhetoric on both sides fuels anger and division, leaving little space for negotiation or compromise. Pause. For ordinary people, Israelis and Palestinians alike, the reality is heartbreakingly similar. Lives disrupted, futures uncertain, and hopes for peace fading once again. In Gaza, the smell of smoke lingers over shattered homes, while in southern Israel, the fear of rockets keeps families awake at night. Pause. Observers say this latest wave of violence underscores a deeper issue: the absence of lasting solutions. Decades of mistrust, political failure, and repeated cycles of war have left both societies traumatized. Every new escalation destroys not just buildings, but also the fragile trust needed to move toward peace. Pause. At the United Nations, diplomats are scrambling to restore calm. Egypt and Qatar, key mediators in previous ceasefires, are working behind the scenes to broker a new deal. But with each passing hour, the possibility of immediate peace seems to fade. The question now is whether the international community can convince both sides to step back before the conflict spirals into another prolonged war. Pause. As the sun rises over Gaza, plumes of smoke still rise into the pale sky. Children walk through rubble, clutching the hands of their parents, trying to salvage what's left of their homes. Across the border, Israeli families wake to the sound of distant artillery and pray for quiet. Pause. The world watches, again, as leaders trade words and warplanes trade fire. The calls for peace grow louder, but so do the echoes of explosions. The tragedy is that while politics may drive the conflict, it is the people, the innocent, who always pay the price. Pause. In moments like this, humanity is tested. Whether the leaders of the world can guide Israel and Palestine toward a lasting truce remains uncertain. What is clear is that the path to peace cannot be paved with airstrikes and retaliation. It must be built on dialogue, empathy, and the shared belief that no child, on either side of the border, should grow up under the shadow of war. Pause. For now, as the conflict rages once again, the people of Gaza and Israel brace themselves for what comes next, waiting, hoping, and praying for the day when the sound of bombs will finally be replaced by the sound of peace. Pause.